Good morning, everybody. I'm super stoked about our guest today, Mitch Ribak. Mitch, oh my gosh, I've been thinking about this for a couple of weeks since you committed easily, because I've had you on a couple three ways with some broker owners, and just you always got something great to say. So everybody, Mitch has been in the business forever. He's a serial entrepreneur. He's been with EXP since 2017. He's one of the first, if not the very first, large independent brokerage that came to EXP. He owned and operated Tropical Realty of Suntree and Tropical Realty Beachside in Florida, right around the Cocoa Beach area. Mitch told me he did $4.5 million in revenue and only made about $90,000 a year operating his brokerage. So I guarantee I'll be asking him some questions about how to approach brokers today. So Mitch, on a whole different topic, this is an agent attraction training, but gosh, man, we may need to get you back some Tuesday on a sales mastermind, because Mitch is also known as the godfather of lead generation throughout North America. So Mitch is an alpha influencer and has over 2,000 people in his organization, has, I think, about 36. Those numbers change all the time. I'll let him elaborate on that. And I'm going to shut up because he can tell his stories much, much better than I. So Mitch, brother, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it so much. And everyone, you're in for a treat.
Thanks.
Welcome,
I
brother.
love when people talk so nicely about me, because it's all bullshit. But I make all this stuff up. I actually have 6 people in my organization, in one direct. So,
But that was 20 years ago.
Yeah. So I joined in 2017. We were the first big broker to switch over. We moved over 40 agents in 2017. It was a scary, really scary business decision. But as you said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've owned 23 companies over the last 42 years, 43 years now. Years are going by, and I'm a visionary type guy. Like, I was the first online dating service. I was the third paintball business in the country. I like doing stuff that nobody else has really done, and then trying to figure out how to do it better. With real estate, I was known as the godfather of internet lead conversion. So, where everybody else is converting less than 1%, we converted 6%. Zillow, everybody converted 3%, we converted 15%. So yeah, I love to do your production stuff too, because production is how I recruit. Like, I don't ever recruit on, hey, let me show you how to make $1 million a year recruiting agents. Nobody wants to recruit agents. I don't want to recruit agents. It sucks. But it's also a great means to an end. So, as I said when we first started talking, before I get honest, are you trying to chase money? Are you trying to chase freedom? I've owned a lot of companies. This is the only company where I've actually got freedom.
Yep.
Right. And that's, so people can bash us all they want, say they're all a bunch of recruiters, because every brokerage is a recruiting company, right? We just get paid for it. And I will tell you, just really quickly, I have yet to pick up the phone and call anybody to recruit. I've not done it once. Now, I've been at events and talked to people, but and I've done a few text messages here and there. But generally, everything that I do is relationship built. Not generally everything. I just had one of my agents here. He just joined us about 3 weeks ago. Young kid, 27, second year in the business, did $10 million this year so far. And we didn't talk about attraction till today. We've been working. I've been trying to bring him on for 9 months. I've been coaching him for 9 months for free. And that's how I attract people. So I attract people to help, but I also tell agents, use me. Like, I'll coach anybody. I don't care. Right. And I don't charge anymore. I'm normally $1,500 an hour, but I stopped charging because I just, you get to a certain point in your life where you say, who can I help today? And truly go from contribution. And I mean, truly go from it. I don't care if people don't join. I had a Remax guy call me recently. And it was really sad, actually. Same age as me. I'm 62, same age. And sells 80 homes a year, has for 35 years sold 80 homes a year. And never got married, never had kids. I said, so what are you doing? He goes, what do you mean? I go, you're going to die soon, right? He is. He's 62. I'm going to die soon. I mean, what I got? 15, 20, maybe 30 years left if I'm lucky. That's pretty soon, right? So I said, you're going to die soon. What are you doing? He goes, well, I don't know how to do it any different. This is why I said earlier, I have this whole thing I'm working on called The Big Lie. It's my next book I'm going to work on, because it's so interesting that we're taught what to do in this business, and it's wrong, and there's a better way. And the better way happens to be EXP. The better way is you can build a brokerage like I have now with 2,200 agents, make way more money. I'll probably net about $350,000 this year. I spend about $500,000 on my group. I'm bringing about $850,000, $900,000 this year. And I'm an infrastructure guy, so I support my entire organization, do a lot for everybody, plus my local group here, which is the majority of my qualifiers. But it's just still all comes down to how do you help people. So I said to him, I said, how many buyers a year do you work with? Sell a year? He goes, half. I said, so you're showing 60 different people to sell 40 homes, right? He goes, yeah. And so I'm not going to go through production thing right now, but I talked to him about that. So we have a follow-up call next week, and I'm still not going to talk about EXP. And maybe a month or two down the road, I'll bring up EXP. So it all comes from, how do I show people how to be part of EXP without being part of EXP? And so I'll give you another example. I'm in my office here in Marinello, Florida. I do a Monday morning meeting from 9:30 to 10:30 every Monday. Out of my 170 local agents, 10 or 15 show up. But my last two people that joined my direct line came to those meetings. We don't talk about EXP, we talk about how to sell houses. So the biggest thing you need to learn about this, there's a couple things, and then I'll open you guys up for questions. But one, this is no different than selling houses. You have a sphere of influence, right? Just like we do with that. You have a list of realtors that they're your friends. So you got to make that list. If you don't build your foundation for your business, you're not building a business, right? So in real estate, it's the sphere of everybody that you know, right? In attraction, it's the same thing. It's just every realtor you know. And then you arrange them, no different like how you would arrange hot leads in your database for buying homes. Who are your friends? And I ranked them all. And I did this all by accident, by the way. Nobody taught me how to do anything because they didn't have training back then for attraction. So I just arranged my list by friends. And those are the people that when I was talking to them, I didn't call them, but when I talked to them, I go to an event and see them, those are the people that I would talk about it, right? And what we found is most people joined. Not everybody, but most did, because I talked about things that were important, like how do you get out of the business? What's your retirement look like? Who do you collaborate with? Especially when I'm talking to brokers. Who do you collaborate with when you're a broker? You're all by yourself. Or even a team within a brokerage, you're still by yourself, right? So you make your list of everybody you know, and then you reach out to those people. And depending on who they are, it's almost always about production. And the beauty of EXP, to me, the best part of EXP is the collaboration. Let's say I have zero financial benefit for you guys bringing anybody on, but here I am spending an hour with you, and I'm no different than anybody else. I mean, we all do that. Everybody does that, and that's the beauty of of this company. And that's what I sell on. I sell on how can you sell more homes. Now, during my three-way call, when I'm talking to someone, I'm always looking for a sign that they might be an attractor, right? But if I don't get that sign, I don't talk about attraction. I mean, it's a very, hey, by the way, if you introduce a couple people a year to the company, and those people over the next few years, I'll introduce one, and it's up to $36,000 a year in referral fees. So notice a couple things I do there. One, I don't ever use the word recruit, ever. And I don't ever use the word revenue share. If you introduce a couple people, like grew my brokerage from 6 agents to 120 agents by my agents introducing people to me. I didn't recruit back then either. And then you're going to earn referral fees because they get that. So I can earn referral fees every year from people. Pretty simple stuff, right? And words make a difference. Now think about it if I said it like this. Yeah, if you go out there and you recruit 2 people a year for the next few years, and they all recruit 1, and that's up to $36,000 in revenue share. It sounds dirty, right? It doesn't really. I don't think it does personally. But to the average realtor who just wants to sell houses, it does. Nobody gets their license to become a recruiter. But yet I grew my brokerage without having any recruiters in my office, and all my agents introduce people to me. And I tell people, I go, back when we did that, I'd give them $500 on their first transaction. With the EXP, you're going to get up to $2,800 a year every year you're both with the company. It's a no-brainer, right? Pretty simple stuff. So the other thing we hear all the time when I talk to people is, you guys have heard the term EXPing on people, right? Is you can't do that. If you're out there spouting EXP, you're not doing what's important. The important part is finding out what their needs are. So to me, watching the video prior to my three-way calls is so important. Because I don't want to sit here and go, well, it's an 80/20 split with a $16,000 cap, right? I want to say, so tell me about your business. What do you love about the brokerage you're with, right? Sometimes I just had this conversation recently with someone. They're paid their broker $48,000 more than they would have paid EXP last year. And I said, who do you love more, your kids or your broker? Because I love my broker. I love my broker, right? I always say you love your broker until they're ready to leave, then they don't actually like you anymore. But I go, what's more important, your family or your broker? I go, you're paid. They actually had their 3-year-old daughter with them. I said, you just paid 1 year of college for your daughter to the broker. True. It's true though, right? I have another friend of mine I'm talking to right now. He hasn't joined yet. Paid his broker $215,000 last year. He didn't know that. Because I always ask, how much did you pay your broker last year? I don't know. And I go, well, before we meet, I want you to have that number. And he came back. He goes, I paid him $215,000 the last 3 years, $650,000 over 3 years. I go, why? And here's the problem. He still hasn't made a move yet because he's so afraid, because brokerages are so good at convincing you're only successful because of them.
Yeah.
Right. So those are just random things that my ADD self is going to and when I do this stuff. But it's really about you and what you want. And do you want to make it part of your life, and do it correctly and follow the system? I did the first 18 months I did this, I was really bad at it. Remember, I never recruited before, right? So I literally I said to Pat, my general manager, I'm going to go away for the next 6 months. I'm going to be on the road a lot. And I literally hopped on planes for 6 months. And I met with Brent, I met with Gene, I met with AJ Maida, I met with Scott Lewis, Tracy, well, not Tracy Gagnon. I mean, I met with everybody who was somebody at EXP. And there was only one thing in common. They all followed the exact same system. They all read Building an Empire, right? I forget the guy's name, but that book there, Building an Empire, which is what our system is based on. And it was all about three-way calls. It was all about getting to watch the video first. Brent likes you to watch the video with them. I don't have time for that, but all about watching the video and then getting them on a three-way call. And do not talk about EXP, right? Just say, you should check out what we're doing. I'd love to give you more details, but honestly, I'm so busy building my business right now, I don't have time. But here's a video, check it out. I'll give you all the details. Now, if you haven't done attraction yet, here's my favorite thing for people to do. Again, making your list and reach out to people and say, I know you're probably not interested in EXP. That's okay. I go, but you're my friend and I really need your advice. So will you do me a favor, watch this video for me and then give me every possible objection you can. Because I need to know what everybody's going to say to me. And then when you get them on the phone, say, will you do me one more favor? Say, will you get on a three-way call with Mitch? And I want to hear how he handles the objections. Because honestly, you can give me the objections. I don't know the answers. And then you let me do my job, which is interview them and find out where the pain is and what can help. Does everybody join? No. But I will say the number that I know is 90% of the people that I meet with join. Some in 3 days, some in 9 months, a year. Nobody joins, not everybody joins like that. The bigger they are, the more complicated it is. Right. Yeah. But also say the newer they are, the more difficult it is. Easy to get them over, but now you're babysitting for the next year, and 86% fall out. So I like the sweet spot of depending on your location. I don't use a dollar figure. I use a transaction figure, somewhere between 5 and 10 transactions a year. Those people are easy to bring over because they can switch tomorrow. They literally don't have too much interest switching tomorrow. And I'm also a baseball player. If you saw me playing baseball at Fenway Park 2 weeks ago, that was unbelievable. Childhood dream. Anyways, I like in sales of homes the same way, by the way. But I look at revenue share like a baseball player. And so my agents that do between 3 and 10 transactions, those are basics. Right? My agents that do 10 transactions and cap, those are doubles. My teams are triples, and my brokerages are home runs. I was a 600 hitter. Right, so it's a really good hitter in baseball. I would be if I could do that in the majors. I would have been in the Hall of Fame twice. And the reality is, I made my living on singles and doubles. Every once in a while, I'll hit a triple, And every once in a while, I hit it in the park home run, right? Because I haven't hit a ball in the park. And so I was a slap hitter. But my point is, I made my living on singles and doubles. And you need to have that mindset. Is look, the goal of this model is to build as wide as possible, right? That's it, as wide as possible. And I didn't get that at the beginning, by the way, but it's now I understand it. And really, the goal is to try to get between your first 3 levels 500 people, and then you're never going to worry about money the rest of your life. Right. So if you build really, really wide, it's a lot easier to, if you have 150 people in your front level, it's a lot easier to have 300-400 people in your second level. Makes sense. So that's kind of, my thought process with everything now. Rich Tomasini, I had that conversation, Hank Avnick and Elizabeth Riley, we all started the family tree together. And Rich came up with that. He goes, if you have 500 people in your second level, you can get all the way down to 5 people and you're still making a ton of money. Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So concentrate on what you can concentrate on. Now, my challenge when you get bigger is I've literally blocked every hour of every day with generally 3-way calls or coaching sessions. So it's very difficult for me to build myself wide because I'm so busy doing that. I took the last 3 months off, meaning I didn't schedule a lot of calls. I did some still. I still worked, but I spent some time building my business a little more. Which I feel really good. Actually, I spent more time on vacation than I did building my business because I think this summer I was away for 6 weeks total. But again, I'm not building money; I'm building freedom, right? So, anyways,
you've earned that right. You deserve that.
well, I worked hard for it, and
Yes,
that's
you
the
have.
thing. People who do this like, well, it doesn't work. Well, it doesn't work when you didn't follow the system. Send them a video, get them on a 3-way call. That's the system. It's not rocket science. And then follow them. So anybody do internet leads, right? Everybody does internet leads. It's the same thing as an internet lead. You meet someone that's somewhat interested, then you nurture it. My thing is I don't talk about EXP. I talk about how I can help you grow your business. We do which anybody's welcome to come. We do a top producer panel every Thursday. When someone goes to that, they usually join the next day because it's some of the best agents in EXP. And people, are learning some great stuff. We don't talk about EXP. We don't talk about recruiting. We have a separate call for that. It's all about how do you sell more homes. So everything I do is how do you sell more homes. What's the question? Hold on a second.
Good stuff. You mentioned you build through production with freedom with. Sorry, is your traction still through
with your
production?
freedom? Have you shifted gears now because
yeah.
you're able to take a lot of time off and everything? Have you shifted
Yeah.
gears and you're bringing in new people and other methods other than production at this point?
Well, it's production for them, not production for me. So when I talk about production, I'm not talking about my production. I stopped selling 2 years ago. And so that does make my life a little more challenging on the attraction side because I'm not out there like everybody else. So I do a thing here called the Rockstar Real Estate Series. Every 2 months we do it. And when I do those, generally 2 or 3 people will join when I do those. No, when I talk about production, it's, I'll say, Kelly, so how's your business going? Where you're at in your revenue, where do you want to be? I'm always talking about their production because that's what they care about. They want to sell more homes. And by the way, that's what I'm good at. I'm good at helping people sell more homes. So I take advantage of that. That's what I'm talking when I'm talking about production. Now, let's talk about different ways of meeting people. One is every transaction you do, you can do a couple of things. One, you can either invite them somewhere in EXP to learn, right? Or you can make a joke. So how come you haven't joined EXP yet? You make a joke about it, right? All you're looking for is a crack in the armor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 9 out of 10 people will not have a crack, but one will. So just like sales is a numbers game, attraction is a numbers game. The more people you talk to, the more people you. Now the reality is, if I put an hour a day into attraction, which I don't, I put it maybe 2 hours a month, I would have my 150 people directly under me within a year, right? Because Hank Avnick says this all the time. It's time on task, right? You will not become better at this if you do not do it. Yeah, you have to make sure you use the people that are good at it when you start, because you're going to screw it up. One of my agents who was just coaching just left, and he had his first person come in and he didn't use me and didn't watch the video or anything. And she left and he texted me, he goes, I just EX puked all over her. But it's true. So now we met the next day and I said, look, this is the system. Follow the system. And that's how Brand, that's how Gene, that's all these Rob, like that's how they all got to where they are today. Is by following that system. So don't deviate from something that works. Right.
What
Like,
video are you using?
I have my own, check out themodel.com.
Okay.
The reason why I like that one, especially when I'm doing three-way calls, because when they're talking to me, I'm the guy in the video. Gives me more clout. A lot of people use Brent's videos, themodelexplain.com. I haven't watched that one in a while. I'm giving an update. One thing I like about my video versus what I've seen out there is I talk about my story of going from being a broker to EXP, and that resonates a lot with people who are teams or brokers. Right? Every broker has the same issue. I tell people I started my brokerage for leverage and freedom. I got babysitting in prison. And now I truly have leverage and freedom. I'm in 49 states, 7 countries, and was able to take 6 weeks off this summer, not altogether. I took 3 weeks off. Yeah. I was able to just take that time off because I have leverage now. I mean, I literally
Talk
don't
a
have to
little
work
bit,
anymore.
Mitch, about, on attracting brokerages, because I do have a few that I'm talking to. Talk a little bit about the anything that you're willing to share on the financial paradigm and the numbers, and also the lack of freedom, the babysitting, just what life is like for a broker.
So I've owned 23 companies. The worst business up before the brokerage was a restaurant. A brokerage is worse. And here's the reason big. There's lots of reasons. First of all, they make no money, right? My best year I made 200 grand. My average year I made between 50 and 75 grand profit with 120 agents. Right. So let's use a small broker. Let's use a 10 agent brokerage. All right. 10 to 15 agent brokerage means they have between 3 and 5 agents. So 15, it's 30%. So when you look at a brokerage and you see someone with 20 agents, that means they have 6 agents. Really. Now you can't say that to them because they get very insulted. Right. I did that once and I realized, and she didn't join because I insulted her. But it's just, well, because the difference when I tell people, when I'm talking to a broker, I go, look, I'm going to just give you facts. You can like them or not like them, but I'm going to give you facts. And there's a few things. One, you work 80 plus hours a week. You have to sell full time to pay the bills. Like my ex-partner in broker, she didn't join EXP when we switched over. She kept her independent. And she told me, she goes, I work 6 months selling homes full time to pay the bills for the brokerage. She's got 15 agents. She has literally 3 or 4 that sell houses, right? The rest is babysitting. And then what happens when you bring somebody up to finally hit those numbers that you want them to hit? They say, Mitch, you were the best mentor I ever had, but I'm going to go over there now. Right. So you work really, really hard to get some. And when you have a traditional brokerage, that could be 40, 50, 60, $70,000 out of your pocket. Right. It's very painful. And so what happens? They treat that guy like shit or that girl like shit when they leave and burn the bridge and you get it back. That was me, by the way. When you left me, I tore you apart. I took it so personal. I don't now. Now I've actually gone back and apologized to people. I call people, not to recruit EXP. I don't care. I just want to let you know, when you left Tropical, I was not a nice person. I'm very sorry. It was a very stressful time for me, and I apologize. And I've done that several times now. I was lucky. I only lost 15 people in 13 years, but I probably bashed 10 of them pretty bad. And they appreciated that, by the way, that I called and I didn't talk about EXP at all. I just said, well, because they didn't understand the stress. When you're sitting there with 100 agents and you're only making $1,000 a week profit, $1,500 a week profit, and you're getting 15 calls every day, and nobody calls saying, hey, Mitch, I love you. You're like the best guy in the world. Like, and they bitching and moaning about everything. And then you're chasing all the new agents because that's what you're taught. Again, the big lie, you're taught, hire a brand new agent because you can mold them. Yeah, whatever. You literally have to build this infrastructure for, I call the infrastructure of hell. Actually, I just made that up. It's kind of cool. And my point is you sit there, you do everything you're told to do, and I made more money selling houses than I ever did with my team or my brokerage. Right? I still worked 80 hours a week now. Again, we'll talk production next time. You guys want to have a meeting, you want me on production, I'll talk about how to be efficient and what I did with that guy, and taught that guy to go from 80 hours a week down to 25 hours a week. Again, you're chasing money, you're chasing freedom. They're 2 different avenues. In EXP, even in production, and I'll give you an example. I've sold up until 2 years ago when I stopped. I still sold 25 to 30 homes a year. I never worked more than 100 hours a year selling houses. Never. Like that was probably more. I probably didn't even work that many, but I feel bad saying less than that.
Say that
So
again. Say what you just said again.
I always sold between, even when I had my brokerage, right? The last 10 years of my life, not really the whole thing, but I always sold 25, 30 homes a year, but I only worked 100 hours a year to do that because money is important, but having a life is more important. And so my mission right now is to help people, whether it be through attraction or production, and teach them that the whole entrepreneur thing's a lie. Like I grew up with my mentors, besides my dad, with 5 of my friends' dads were business guys. We never saw them. And so here I am at 62 years old. My kids are in their 40s. I didn't see them. I can't tell you 5 things I did with my kids. Can't tell you. I was there, never present. So the reason why I made this move, talking about from a broker standpoint, I was 56 years old, and I was looking in the mirror one day because I do that. Mirror is my accountability tool. I do it every day. Shave and talk to the mirror, and I have to shave my head and my face now. Takes a little longer, but I was 56. My dad died at 58. My mother died at 59. Most of my relatives died in their 50s. And I said, what happens if I die? And the reality is, we had no money. We had no assets except our house, which, it was mortgaged to the hill because I had to take out money to pay the bills at the brokerage sometimes, right? A couple of years we lost money. And the reality was 120 agents, if I died, my family got nothing. My agents all scatter. In fact, we know how horrible brokers are. They're going to have, as soon as I die, before I'm even buried, and I'm Jewish, so we're buried the next day, right? They're going to be, the brokers are going to be calling my agents trying to recruit them, right? Because that's just the way our industry is. It's terrible. So I went to sell the company because that's what I'm taught to do. I build a business and sell business. That's what I've done my whole life. And what I found about selling a brokerage is that's the big lie too, is they don't give you what they offer you ever. So they offered me 3.5 million with 120 agents, but the payout is a little money the first year, a little money the second year. Third year is 70% of the payout is the third year based on the retention of the original 120 agents. So at that point, I walked away. I fired 50 agents in about 6 minutes. I literally went through all my agents that were not productive or would never be productive, or even a couple that were productive that I just couldn't stand. And I got rid of all of them. It shaved $30,000 a month off my overhead. I went from 120 down to 65 agents. And then I still had to figure it out because there was no end game. There was no exit strategy. And I went up and met Jason for the 4th time up at Inman. And I later found out, because Jason and I are good friends now, he's like, I did not want to meet with you. I knew you just wasted my hour. But I said, the thing that struggled me, and this is an important lesson, is Tropical Realty was a big brand here. There's 700 transactions a year. We were really well known, great reputation. And I'm going to go to EX who? Right? I mean, there was 50 agents in the state of Florida, right? 2,800 in the country. Nobody heard of EXP. I said, I'm worried about my brand. He goes, well, just keep it. Just be Tropical Realty Beachside, brokered by EXP. And honestly, if he told me that 2 years early when we first met for the first time, I would have done it then. And that cost me about $10 million, by the way, by him not telling me that. Between the stock, because back then when you brought somebody on, you got 1,000 shares of stock, right? The stock was a penny stock then. I mean, it was $2.75 when I joined, but before it was like 50 cents, right? So we figured it out one day. It cost me about $10 million. Plus, on top of that, I'd probably have 5,000 or 6,000 or 7,000 agents now, and that's 2,200 agents. I know I keep rambling here, but just stop me whenever you want.
No, this is awesome. I'm gonna shift you slightly, but actually, it's what you've been talking about. Talk about the process on how you were recruited. What kind of time did it take? Who did what? What would you have changed if you were recruiting yourself back at, I don't know how I know you looked at EXP long before you came, but talk to us about that if you would, please.
Yeah, it was Howard Fritz is my sponsor. I don't even know Howard. Howard's a good guy out of Connecticut. And he was one of the guys. So back, geez, when did I probably start talking to him? I think around 2010 or so, I was doing my internet consulting and all that stuff. And he was one of my consulting clients and consulting on his internet program. And then I was launching an ISA company. I really never talked to, once in a while, he'd call me for questions and I help anybody, I don't care. Someone said to me recently, said, Mitch, you should be the richest guy in real estate because everything based on lead conversion is based on your stuff. He goes, you're too effing nice. He's right. I don't charge people because I just don't care about money. When you lose $82 million like I did in 2000, you have a different perspective on money. But anyway, so he kept in touch with me. Then when I was up in Inman launching the ISA company, I launched in 2015. He's like, oh, you should join EXP. And I think there was like 400 agents at the time. I'm like, no, I'm not giving up my brokerage. In 2014, I was president of our board. 2015, I was a district vice president for the state of Florida. I'm like, I'm up here. You guys are a little nasty little company. I have nothing to do with you guys. And it took time, but here's what he screwed up on. And again, nobody knew because nobody brought over a brokerage. I give him credit. He brought over, I was the biggest brokerage to come over that time. Now I'm nothing, right? We just brought over a 600 agent brokerage in New Hampshire, came over last week, right? The Bean Group. But what he didn't do, because he didn't know my pain. He didn't know what I went through the broker. So when you're talking to a broker, you need to get another broker on the call who's joined. And by the way, use me. I don't care, right? I help anybody. I don't care whose line you. It's not relevant to me. But he didn't know that when I do all my best to raise people up and then they'd leave. He didn't know I wasn't making any money because if you saw me, I dressed really nice suits, I drive really nice cars, and I was in a lot of debt. But nobody saw that. That was my internal stuff. He didn't see me waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning going, I don't know how to pay payroll this week. Right? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Good stuff.
So that's what when I'm talking to a broker, that's all I talk about. I make a joke. I was like, the best thing about being a broker is, you work hard to bring that new agent up to being successful. And then I say, close the door and say, can we talk for a minute? You were the best mentor I ever had. Bye.
So what was your timeline from when you first were talked to when you joined?
2 years.
Okay.
Because now most of the brokers that we've been working with, like we just brought on a brokerage in my group in San Diego 6 months ago. 120 agents came over. They lost half, which they're going to. Not really. They did it wrong. They didn't listen to me when they made the switch. They probably only would have lost about 30%. They lost half. But that was a 4-month process. And that's a company losing a lot of money every year. I can't disclose the amount, but it was more money than I make a year, right? Is what they're losing every year. And the broker was in tears, literally tears. And there's a video, if you get a chance, go to YouTube and type in my name, Mitch Ribak, and then Jeanette. It's my wife. And there's a video that it's probably honestly the best video to give a broker. Because, as a broker, your life is hell. But the worst is your family life is hell, which is worse than your business being hell, right? I mean, it's hell every, and my wife talks about this thing. Renee Funk interviewed my wife as the spouse of an EXP agent, and how much it's changed our family and how much it's changed our lives and how much it's changed our relationship. So going back to when I switched real quick, the biggest thing for me was my granddaughter has a rare disease. Again, this is nothing that Howard understood. He should have asked these questions about me, right? And so that was my other fear. Like if I die, my granddaughter who has a rare disease or something, luckily knock on wood, she's doing amazing. She's a senior in high school right now, but she could have a seizure today and her whole life are done, like, completely upside down. So those are, things of the pain. You got to find the pain in people, because the reality is EXP doesn't solve all your pain, but it solves most of them. It does. It solves most of it, not all of it. And, people still leave and people still bitch about EXP because they bitch about every brokerage they've been at, all 4 brokerages they've been in the last 2 weeks, right? And I don't play with those people. Like when I interview somebody, when I have my brokerage, if their words out of their mouth, well, my broker didn't do this for me, I wouldn't hire them. I knew they're going to say the same thing about me, the same thing they did about everybody else. I've just seen it. I see it all the time. So I'm looking for people that I don't mind newer. I don't want brand new because it's just a time suck. And again, I'm into freedom, not into money. But I like agents that at least want to build a business. And my free coaching is very, very specific. If you do not do what you say you were going to do, I will not coach you. End of story. And so what ends up happening when you're a broker, you're constantly chasing and chasing and chasing your agents. Like I would literally after a meeting call 30 of my agents, 40 of my, hey, how come you didn't come to the meeting today? What are you doing? Right? How come you do open houses? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't call anybody about their production. I reach out people, and Dave Kanoy says this, you talk to people that are swimming toward you. And I will help anybody that's swimming toward me. I'm just not chasing. I won't chase you to join, and I will not chase you to make you successful. But if you want to be successful, I can do both. So I'm good at both. Sounds pretty cocky, by the way.
You got to be coachable for sure.
Yeah.
You got to want it.
And one of my favorite lines, it's the two lines, because I don't really look at sales lines, is look, the most I can make off you is $2,800. That is not going to affect my life one bit. But the reality is I could change your life. That's just a fact. Because we know if you plug in and do what you're supposed to, whether it be on production or traction or both, it can change your life. I mean, this is the only brokerage, and I say this all the time, it's the only brokerage that I've heard, and I've trained hundreds of brokerages all over North America, that people all the time say, it changed my life. I've never heard that call banker, Remax, any of these companies. I've never heard anybody say their brokerage changed their life. But EXP, I hear it every day. Every day. And by the way, it's all relative, right? Like an extra $2,000 a month to somebody is life-changing. An extra $500 a month to some people's life-changing. Is, if you don't have to think about your bills, that's what I love about the attraction model. If you don't have to think about your bills, you sell more homes. People never sell more homes when they're struggling because they're pushing, right? When you don't have to push, like it's really funny. Up until 2 years ago, this is how the universe works too. It's kind of cool. So I was always getting 40 to 80 calls every single year. And I haven't sold full time since 05. Every single year I get 40 to 80 calls and sell my 25 or 30 and I refer out the rest. And then in October of 21, me and Pat's my general manager for 18 years, we were sitting down and we were talking about we were doing a buyer. We had a buyer and it was a pain in the ass transaction. I looked, I go, Pat. She goes, what? I go, I quit. It's like, what do you mean you quit? I go, I don't want to sell homes anymore. I don't like it anymore. She goes, well, if you quit, I quit. And we did. We put it out there. Do you know the next year I sold 6 homes? Since 2022, I sold 6 homes and I probably got 8 phone calls. Now I was getting 40 to 80 every single year. And then I said to the universe, I don't want to sell homes anymore. What happened? Everybody went away. Now, 2 weeks ago, I said, I think I want to sell a few homes here and there. I got 3 calls to list homes within 3 days. So, the whole, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right, Henry Ford, is so powerful beyond belief. And everybody, if you doubt, you're not going to win the game.
You know why you came to EXP as a broker owner, and the market's different today than it was in 2017.
Yeah.
What would you say to the broker owner that's thinking about making the move? How does that differ today, given that we're off by, depending on who you look at, 40% per year over last year? So what's different and how would you approach that broker?
Yeah, well, remember, so they were struggling before. Now they're really struggling because they're not making anything. They're losing money, right? So I did numbers for a broker recently, 15 agents in Orlando. She says, we're killing it. My team's killing it. It's great. Her team in 2022 lost $7,500. When I took her money out, all her money out, the team lost $7,500. So I'm always, when you're talking to a broker, there's a couple ways to approach brokers. One is, I'm doing what I'm doing right now, which I really enjoy, but I'm a business person. I'm really looking to see what my next step is. It might be staying here, what I'm doing, but I really don't know enough about being a broker. And I'd love to ask you, sit down with you, take you out for lunch, and really ask you about being a broker. What is it like? And then, what's the exit strategy? How do you get out of being a broker? Like, what is your plan? So you only want to ask them what it's like. And the majority of them cannot lower their ego to tell you the truth. Right? They won't. It was me. My ego, I'm only 5'6". My ego was 8'10". and I'm the guy, and I love being the guy, but that's what I love. But the cool thing is with EXP, if you do it correctly, you're still the guy. And then one thing might be, so how do you expand? What's your expansion model look like? Like, is your plan to have 10 or 15 agents the rest of your life and keep selling homes to pay the bills? Or what's, I'm trying to understand that model. And when they keep telling you that, that's what you learn. You know, if they're honest with you, they'll tell you. Now, not everybody's gonna be honest. They're not gonna tell. I would never have told you that I was not making any money. I had an image because I didn't want that agent going out telling them, hey, that guy doesn't make any money. You know,
Mhm.
you don't want to tell it, you know, so you put it in. So it's hard. But the key is put them in their mind, put it in their mind, because a lot of times they don't know. They're so busy and wrapped up in their life that they don't know that their life sucks. They don't. I didn't. I thought my life was pretty good until I really looked at my life and said, wait a minute, I was missing my grandkids just like I missed my kids. Right? I forgot to live while I was building. Huge, right? This is why I'm in this whole big lie thing, because it's a lie. It's all bull. So the other thing is, you know, when I talk to people, you know, and I say that line all the time to brokerage. I go, well, listen, why do we start a brokerage? We started for leverage and freedom, but what'd you get? Every single broker, not one has ever said to me, I'm wrong when I say you got babysitting in prison, right? And then when they will open that door, I can have a conversation. I've had several brokers start off the conversation with, just so you know, I'm never going to do this, but I respect so-and-so enough to listen. Most of them joined. Not all of them, but most of them joined. And most of them said at the end of the call, and said, you know, I was 100% against this. Now I'm only 20% against this.
Hmm.
Because it's a hard thing to admit to yourself that your life sucks. It's hard. It really is. It's not, because this is your identity. So when you're talking about, it's their baby, right? It's their identity. But the freedom they get when they do this, now there's money involved. Every brokerage completely different. I knew I was going to take a hit, a big hit when I joined, but I'm also an entrepreneur, right? So I knew I was going to invest, and I put aside $200,000, which is all the money I had to live on while I built this. I had no idea. It took me 6 months before I broke even, because I still had $65,000 my overhead when I joined, but within the 90 days, all my revenue from my brokerages went away, right? So then I was able to get my overhead down to $20,000, then down to $15,000. My lowest was down to $8,000 a month, not counting my paycheck, but my lowest was $8,000 a month. And now it's back up to, not counting my paycheck, $25,000 a month. But the reality is I have freedom. They'll never have freedom. They're going to die doing what they're doing, and they're going to be miserable. And everybody who's telling you they're happy as a broker's full of shit. Like, I talked to a guy, I remember the guy, Gene Ferrick asked me to go up to New Jersey and meet a guy. So I went up to New Jersey and met a guy for him, because I love Gene, he's a good guy. And 350 agents, average sales $1 million a sale. 2022, they made $104,000 net. He was in tears. I've had so many brokers in tears because I exposed the reality, not the lie they live. And they're living a lie, and they won't admit it to themselves. It's like you're an alcoholic. What's the first step? Admitting to yourself you're an alcoholic, right? Same thing with being a broker. Admitting to yourself that my life sucks. What do I do? And then the conversation goes further. Is if you're a broker, you know you have to recruit. That's part of being a broker. I had one broker say, "I don't recruit at all." I'm like, "You have 30 agents." I go, "You're a recruiter." I go, "Do people come in your office and join?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You're a recruiter." They joined because you recruited them when they got to your office. You may not have brought them in the door, but you still had to recruit them. So brokers understand that. Brokers understand business. If you get them to lower the guard, they're actually fairly easy. It's a logistics nightmare. It's very, logistics for me, it was a mess. I mean, the EXP had no idea how to handle me. They told me that. I mean, Jason Gessing says, you're the guinea pig, right? I go, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with being a guinea pig. And luckily it worked out. And I've seen so many brokers it's worked out. Look at the Fazios. I mean, Chuck's got 8,000 people under him. Probably making $500,000 a month.
Yeah.
Worked out pretty good for him, right? That'll bring me one more thing I want to make sure you understand. It's really important that you reach out to the people that you know. I didn't reach out to two of my friends, and you probably know both of them. Carlos Germain from Orlando with 2,500 agents, and Daniel Bear with 8,000 agents.
Wow.
They both said when they joined and found out I was with EXP, why didn't you call me? They both joined under people they didn't know. right? I would have 13,000 people now making $1 million a month. So I lost like $10 million a year just because I didn't make 2 phone calls. So people are going to join. You just have to be in front of them. Again, just like why do people use you as a realtor? Because you're in front of them when they happen to be thinking about buying or selling. There's no other reason, right? They all know 20 of us. We're like, little cockroaches all over the world. We're everywhere. But they use the person in front of when they think about buying or selling. Just the way it works. Unless you were totally amazing, like I was, of course, and people just keep reaching out to you. But it's the same thing with attraction. Everybody knows an EXP agent now, or 10, right? They've all tried to recruit them at one point, but they don't. I mean, I have lots of people I've talked to that didn't join under me because I did a shitty job of staying in touch with them. And when they're ready to join, I wasn't there. Somebody else was. So it's like an internet lead to me. It's all about nurturing. So the sales cycle of every single product in the world is capture leads. Every product, I don't care what product you're selling. And then you have to nurture. We're all pretty good at capturing. We all really suck bad at nurturing. We're all pretty good at closing. And then we all really suck bad at creating a customer for life. So when you do bring somebody on, it's really important that you're in touch with your front line and you constantly do there to help them. A lot of people bring people on and they abandon the person they sponsored. And then they wonder why they left 6 months later. They were alone. You can't do that, right? Now, I know the EXP models, well, EXP does everything good. EXP does a ton, but if you don't get them to plug into the model, they're not going to stay.
Right.
And I'm not talking about attraction, I'm talking about selling more homes. So my job is I have a whole staff that does this. That's what we do. We help you plug in. We train you to plug in, especially our local agents. We lost out of 175, 180 agents we have here locally. We lost 4 last year. Nothing, right?
Oh,
So because we do a great job with our infrastructure in our level ones. So, all right, what else?
What do you think keeps a brokerage from looking at us today, given the state of the market, other than the obvious ego?
Ego. That's
Just
the only
ego.
reason. Ego.
Okay.
Because they don't want to admit they failed.
Right.
I didn't want to admit I failed. I didn't fail. I paid my bills, right? But I had a coaching business, an ISA company. I had a software. I had a bunch of stuff that I started because I wasn't making any money in the real estate business. So I don't feel bad for me. I did well, but I wasn't making money in at all with the brokerage. The only thing the brokerage did for me let me test my systems to demonstrate to the world that I was really good at my systems. We generated a lot of money, 4.5 million a year in revenue. Just didn't turn into profits.
Yeah.
So if you can get past their ego, and that's why it's really, if you go out and talk to them as a I'm thinking about, I'm looking at my options, and I love what I'm doing at EXP, but I'm also looking at broker, what it would be like to own a brokerage, and you start that conversation. It's not going to happen overnight. Brokerages don't join overnight. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts. You've got to break down the ego. You got to get them on a call with someone like myself, because as a realtor, you don't know what I know. You don't know the pain, and you don't understand the pain. You've not been there. I can talk from the heart because I know that pain. I would bet you right now, if I had my brokerage still, I'd be dead. I honestly believe that. My diet was terrible. I was 25 pounds heavier, 30 pounds heavier. I was in stress all the time. I slept 2 to 4 hours a night, drank like a fish. I don't think I'd be alive. In my family history, where everybody's dead in their 50s in my family, I would have followed that path. Yeah.
Several of us, Mitch, are former broker owners on this Zoom today. How would you tweak that conversation slightly for the broker calling on a broker?
Sure. Let me think how I do that. Mine are always pretty generic when I talk to brokers at first. Say, are you're a business guy? First, so Tim, are you a business guy? Just role play for a second.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Serial
one
entrepreneur
thing
like you.
So one thing I've learned about business people is we always keep our eyes open, right? And I want to let you know there's a better way to do what you're doing. Are you open to a conversation about it? And that's it.
That's pretty
And
cool.
then, and that's it. I would still bring on another broker who did it, because you got to hit the third party calls, really the most important part of what we do, right? And someone like myself, I've done 1,000 calls now, easily 1,000 calls, if not more, over the last 6 years. So I know exactly what to say to who I'm talking to. And then by the way, when you've done that, I've seen that a few times, 3 or 4, 5, 6 times. Now you know then you can be that person for everybody else. But if you don't not done that call, let me do the call, because what people do is they'll start going, well, I moved my brokerage over and it's been great, and I did this and I did that. They're not hearing that. They're hearing blah, 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 blah. Right.
Yeah.
What I want them to hear is their pain. Because we all know if you're a broker, it's a sucky business. And if they'll open up, that's the crack in the armor I talked about earlier. Some people, I had, I reach out to brokers that I run into them. Oh, I'm so happy. I love what you've done at EXP, but I would never do that, blah, blah, blah. And I look at their numbers, their company did $27 million in sales this year. Right. So I break down their numbers. We had one the other day, funny, I saw a broker call, 10 agents, she said 14 agents. And it works out that she brought in $50,000 last year from her agents. I'm like, why are you doing that? I go, how many homes did you not, because it's full-time sales. So how many homes did you not sell because you were babysitting 14 agents?
Yeah.
Right. How much time did you take away from your family because you were doing that? Well, it's 50 grand. I go, 5 sales, 4 sales, right? With no headaches. How much did you, and I always, if they have kids, that's where I always go. Because I didn't, I screwed up. I played the big lie, and so when they have kids, I always go, what's your most important job? Being a broker or being a dad? And they're always going to say being a dad. I go, you're doing a shitty job of that. Yeah. You can't do both effectively. You can, but most likely not.
Right.
So.
All right, everybody, as we start to wrap up, get your questions ready. Final questions. Kelly had one in the chat box. Do you only connect with independents? Do you also connect with franchisees? And if so, how do you tweak that given tortious interference laws?
Yeah, so I don't reach out to franchises at all. I just don't. I have a few friends of mine that I talk to that have reached out to me that are franchises and coming up, they got a couple of years left on their thing. It's not worth the aggravation to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not, I'd rather concentrate on things that I can make happen. So I just choose not to. I can't change the whole world, but I can change a few people here and there. And if I can do that, I did a good job. There's plenty of independents that need you right now. Right now, the franchises know, because when the franchises are done, if you do get them within that period, and by the way, if they're your friends, you can have a conversation. Right. That's why I always make a list of all my friends. Right. If they're your friends, you can have a conversation. I have an exit guy I'm talking to right now, we've been talking about doing some stuff together for years, and he's got a year left on his contract. So we're not. But I've been, I'm not pursuing him. He'll like see something, reach out and ask me a question. But even then, I say, until you're within 6 months, we really can't have a good conversation.
Yeah.
Because I don't, I've done really, 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 really well, and I don't want to jeopardize that. It's not worth it to me.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I stick to independent, and there's tons of independents. There's plenty of them. Yeah. They're like bigger cockroaches. all the little cockroaches are under the brokers. That's so wrong. Sorry. It's just funny.
Yeah. All right. Who's got a final question? Final minute to go. Come on, somebody's got something. Don't be shy.
I have a question. So if I've been talking to a larger independent broker, 200 agents plus, and it's been over a year. Back a year ago, I had him on there with Jason Guessing. I was trying to get Fazio and couldn't get him. But anyway, so I feel like there's not been much discussion in the meantime. I've sent them a couple of things. What would be the best way to reconnect with somebody, and
Sure.
what would be the
So the best way is the new boost program they just launched.
Yeah.
So I say, just so you know, we have a new program now with the EXP brokers that are like yourself. I think the number is $100 million and minimum 50 agents, where there's a compensation model now for things, would you be interested in learning a little bit about the compensation model? And then there's a sheet you fill out. I do not know the whole program myself personally yet. But somebody like that, again, when you're a 200 agents, your ego is even bigger than my ego was. Right? But ultimately, the other way to get big brokers to switch over is get their biggest agents to join.
Yeah.
You know, we've had a few of those happen here locally.
I think they're basically 100% model program that, so.
Yeah, so 100, so but even with that, their top
It's an icon. Yeah, if their big one's icon.
their top 25 agents are paying him more at 100% than they would EXP.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it, if you're $500 a transaction, right? And you're doing 50 transactions, right? That's $25,000 you're paying him. And there's other fees too. So
Yeah.
you're already paying more if you're selling a good amount of homes. The agents, they're in 100% shops are interested. They're a little more challenging
Yeah.
because they're going to lose a lot of their agents.
Yeah.
Just the way it works. Guys, I do got to hop off because I do have a 12 o'clock.
Yeah, thank you so
Anytime,
much.
but yeah, whatever you guys need for help, let me know. I'm always here to help you guys.
Thank you so much.
Likewise,
Thank
please
you.
reach out to us if we can ever do anything for you. And thank you so much for your time today, brother.
Okay, be good. Talk to you soon, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, see y'all.